Old comic guy coming at you. I know I've been gone for a little bit, real life, new job, that whole bit, but I was still buying comics, so let me give some hauls. This is from Brass Armadillo, which is an antique store. And a lot of people may not consider antique stores the right place, and in some cases they're definitely not. A lot of them are overpriced. Even at the Brass Armadillo, lots of booths, some of them are overpriced. They want a lot for their comic. They think it's all near mint, and it's not. But here's what I found. This is the Brass. So if you're local in Phoenix, this is the Brass Armadillo up off of I-17. This is from August. So we'll start with the Keebler New Teen Titans President's Drug Awareness Campaign. Interesting story about these. There were 3 of them made, not all from Keebler as a sponsor. This one introduces this character. He's called the Protector. So Keebler did this one. This is the first one. It's his first appearance. And at the time, Robin was licensed by Nabisco. Yeah, Nabisco. And was already in the Super Friends on TV. So they did do a cartoon PSA short that starred the Protector. So he's been in these 3 of these. This one is actually by the President's Drug Awareness Campaign. It, I don't think, has a sponsor. This is number 2. Found these. Number 3 is by IBM. I do have one already, but they're always nice to get. A drug awareness, because of the Robin being licensed by Nabisco and already in the Super Friends, when they ran this, they introduced the Protector and kind of kept him around because they thought if they were going to do a Teen Titans cartoon, again, this was back in the 80s, so before all the Teen Titan cartoons that have come out since then. There's a bunch of other new Teen Titans. So this one stars Starfire and Starfire. That's interesting. This character, the Russian, later changed his name to Red Star. He was the original Starfire. And then here we have, this is number 20. This is the first appearance of the Disruptor. Just love the old New Teen Titans. This is, so the Omega Men were introduced in Green Lantern and then were really fine-tuned in New Teen Titans to the characters that they really became. And this has them in it. It also has a He-Man pull-out story that is the first one after the DC Comics Presents that introduced He-Man to the comic world. So that's kind of cool. Still intact. None of these are really great, but these New Teen Titans actually aren't bad. This is issue 29, and 29 is the first appearance of Adrian Chase's wife and 2 kids while they were living. The annual that comes out shortly after this is where Adrian Chase becomes the second vigilante after his wife and family are killed. Very reminiscent of the Punisher. First appearance of Thunder and Lightning. This is issue 32 of the New Teen Titans. And then about issue 40, they ended the New Teen Titans and started being called Tales of the Teen Titans. Tales of the Teen Titans. This is issue 45. And from 41 on, this was the name of the title, but also after about issue 59, they just started running reprints. This is the first appearance of Cyborg's grandparents. They show up in this. And then the New Teen Titans, which is what the comic went to with the Baxter paper, that thicker paper. This is issue 16. And again, this later on would be reprinted in the Tales of the Teen Titans. And then we have the original Teen Titans are back. issue 20. Lovely stuff. This is the series that at the end of about issue 50, they changed to just be the New Titans, because they were no longer teenagers. Actually, they were probably no longer teenagers at that point. And then found some nice, I mean, these aren't in great shape, but they're cool to have. They're old. Issue 311 of Adventure Comics. So from issue 300 of Adventure, the Legion of Superheroes became regulars in the stories. This one, let's see. No, not this one. So these were going on. This had a lot of introduction of artists and authors. Mort Weisinger was the editor of this at the time. This is issue 312. Lightning Lad had died in issue 304, and this is where he's revived in 312, but with the death of Protee. And then, which was Chameleon's pet, friend, etc. Chameleon Boy's pet or friend. And then this is issue 322. What's cool about this one, or kind of cool, is that you can kind of see it. There's a faint fold line from where the comics used to be folded and put into mailboxes. So a lot of the old comics will have that. It, to me, does not really, like, yeah, it does break. It's always a color break. But there's some nostalgia to that, to the history of how they started being distributed to people, and I think that's important. Issue 323, this is first appearance of Spider-Girl from the Legion of Supervillains, and first appearance of Doubleheader, who joins the Legion of Substitute Heroes. So yeah, these kind of classic Silver Age stories, wonderful. 323, and then this is issue 355 with the Adult Legion, and Jim Shooter at 14 wrote his first Legion superhero story in issue 346, which had the death of Feral Lad and introduced the Fatal Five. He wrote a bunch of these. Now, after that, he started writing regularly for DC, and of course Jim Shooter has moved on to become just really famous as a comic book writer. But that's where he started. This is one of his that he wrote. This is the first appearance of Takron Galtos, which was the prison planet in the Legion of Superheroes. So it's cool. These wonderful, wonderful Silver Age. Gotta love them. And then issue 363. As I said, these are not in great shape, but they're all connected. Staples are still holding, even though they have some wear. So low grade, but still wonderful books, especially if you don't have them. It's a nice way to get them on the relatively cheap. Here's a Superboy. This is number 182. It's the first appearance of Bruce Wayne before he was Batman as the Executioner. Oddly, most of that's all been retconned. But anyway, at the time, that's what they decided. This is Superboy starring the Legion of Superheroes. So this is issue 197. This is the first issue that was retitled that way. And it became this way all the way till the end of the Superboys. This is Cary Bates writer, Dave Cochran art, that whole run. Cary Bates is a phenomenal writer. He's one of my favorite. And in my top 5, let's say. This is the first appearance of Tyr from the Legion of Supervillains. He had the War World type planet that would go on, and he had corrupted Timberwolf at this point, or brainwashed. One of the things about the Superboys is, while this is an original story, a lot of them reprinted stories from Adventure Comics. So they usually had at least one full story that was original, and then the rest were reprints. So this one has the first appearance of Calamity King, Color Kid, who joins the Legion of Subs, Shadow Kid, who is Shadow Lass's younger brother, and then this is where ERG-1 becomes Wildfire. This is also the first interior art by Mike Grell. A lot of people associate some of the costumes as being Grell's work, and that's true in some cases, but I would say that some of the more iconic ones are actually Dave Cockrum. So yeah, another reprint book, issue 205. And then here's another one, again with some reprints. And then this has the first appearance of Krav and Mitra Na, which were Ultra Boy's parents. They do make a couple of other appearances a little bit later on. This is issue 208. 218, again, it's still with that Superboy and starring the Legion of Superheroes. This is when Tyrock joins the Legion of Superheroes. And then, so it was Superboy starring the Legion of Superheroes up through issue 258. This is 263. As of issue 259, it became just Legion of Superheroes. And this is the first appearance of Dagon the Avenger, which was a villain. It started becoming Legion of Superheroes around 1980, I think is when it actually converted. So that's cool to find. What else? So Green Lantern number 102. So Green Lantern went on hiatus in 1972 with issue 89. 84 through about 86 was the famous drug issue where Speedy was addicted to heroin. And then, I don't know if it's because of the controversy of that or whatever, but it kind of went on hiatus, issue 89 in 72, and then it was gone for about 4 years. It had been canceled, ran for 4 years, and then it was off for 4 years, and then in 1976, issue 90 came out, still keeping the Green Lantern co-starring Green Arrow. This is 102, and then 103. This one was the last Julius Schwartz as the editor of Green Lantern. He had stepped down at this point, and Julius Schwartz had done so much with Green Lantern and just echoing in him and Mort Weisinger, like really, for DC at least, brought in the Silver Age in such a way. And then this is issue 151. So in issue 150, Hal's sentenced to exile from Earth by the Guardians of the Galaxy, or Guardians of the Universe. And in 151, this is his 24 hours to get his affairs in order before he begins that exile in space. And this begins a space series. He's always been kind of the space cop, but before that he was really not so much. And this is where this really drives home. Issue 162, 163, and then we have issue 191, so he's back at this point. And you'll notice these are all Green Lantern. So this is kind of the end of that, where Green Lantern, Green Arrow ended back a little bit after 103. I think it makes it to about 107 before it ends. So Green Lantern 191. And then we're going to have another name change. I didn't actually get that one, but I did get 199. And this at 200, after 200, so it's Green Lantern at 200, and then 201 is when it changes to the Green Lantern Corps. And this one has, so part of the thing with some of these other ones is, while it still stars Hal, he's not the Green Lantern, it's John in a lot of that. Picked up some Captain Americas, so just some pretty cool covers and just cool Captain Americas. These are in fairly decent shape. And then 279. Nothing like key-like necessarily about them. I just kind of a fan. 291. And then we have some Iron Mans. This lovely first appearance of his space armor. Yay. So that's kind of cool. And then this is still, so I should say that at this time Iron Man was still, Tony Stark created it through the conflict in Vietnam. And I know his history's been retconned. And you kind of never know when it's going to happen with Marvel. It just kind of does. So this is issue 144. And it's kind of showing that, talking about it, his origin again. Issue 148. And then this is issue 166. This is the first full appearance of Obadiah Stane. You kind of see his silhouette in the previous issue. And he becomes Ironmonger. So, some old Iron Man goodness. What else? Got a bunch of like one-offs, so there are just a few issues. 206 of the Justice League of America. 214 of the Justice League of America. Cool thing about this is it's already started, the Adventure in the Microcosm, which is the mini universe or whatever that DC was putting all of the Justice League in, of course, because of the Atom. So that's kind of cool. Arak, Son of Thunder. So this was created. This is issue 9. This story is created by Roy Thomas and Ernie Colin. Maybe Dan Thomas. He makes his first appearance in an issue of Warlord. But very much, he started out very reminiscent of the Conan stuff that Roy had been doing over at Marvel. And then we have a Hercules number 3, the Hercules Prince of Power number 3. Writer artist is Bob Layton. Now this came out in 1982. It did have a second series of 4 issue. This is a 4-issue miniseries. They had a second one. It's set in the 24th century, so basically everyone that Hercules knows is passed on, or most people. Anyway, it's yeah. I do like them. They're a wonderful read, and they're usually pretty inexpensive. Omega Men. This is issue 17. This is the first appearance of the Scion Homeworld. Doug Monik was the writer. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. So anyway, but he was the writer on a bunch of these. Again, Omega Men I had mentioned already. And then we have Omega Flight. Some wonderful attempt to decide whether or not to bring back Alpha Flight sort of thing. This has Arachne, who is the Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman. It has Beta Ray Thor, U.S. Agent, and then of course it has from the original Alpha Flight Sasquatch and Talisman. And Michael Pointer is the new Guardian. He later becomes a Weapon Omega, and then later just calls himself Omega. This was originally supposed to be a new series, and then they decided it was going to be a limited series. Interesting, this is around the time of the Initiative, and Talisman makes the comment that the reason, she basically is chewing out Tony Stark, and basically says the reason that Canada is faced with all of these criminals is because of the initiative that America is doing. And I thought, that's not a surprise. DC Comics presents Superman and the Legion of Superheroes. I was getting a bunch of Legion stuff, so I thought, well, I saw this and should grab it. This is chronologically, weirdly, the first appearance of a Sun Eater, but it's not, because historically that happens in an Adventure Comics. But this is set before then, so that's weird. We have some wonderful Marv Wolfman and Don Heck work on Wonder Woman, and of course it's bringing the new Teen Titans in. Then we have the Champions, another Don Heck artwork. The writer's Tony Isabella. Marv was the editor, so that's kind of cool. Marv Wolfman. And then, let's see, so we have Iceman, Angel, Black Widow, and Hercules, and the one that's missing would be Ghost Rider. This is also the first appearance of Rampage. There, actually. He's a villain, makes some appearances later on, and becomes a regular, not just with the Champions. So, I also got Convergence, Booster Gold #2. So interestingly, the writer of this book is Don Jurgens, who's actually the writer and creator of Booster Gold. And then along with Archie Goodwin, he created Wave Rider for Armageddon 2001 back in 1991. In this issue, Booster Gold becomes Wave Rider. So yeah, that's kind of cool. A lot of Dan Jurgens' creations kind of come together full circle. If you know me, I love the Young All-Stars and the All-Star Squadron. This is Roy and Dan Thomas, Ron Harris with the Young All-Stars. So very nice. And of course, I had to get a bunch of All-Star Squadron, so I'm going to kind of go through them. This is the first appearance of Dragon King in this issue. Wonderful periodization one. There's another one of the same. I buy them all up. My reasoning is I give them away as gifts often, so it's just some wonderful thing I can do. Also, I'm trying to get another complete set to give to my grandchild that's coming this next month. So yeah. Oh yeah, so this is Hawkman, kind of primary character, and it actually sets up his history with his wife being a prince and princess in the old time, and the priest Pastor makes an appearance. So this kind of really set up that reincarnated story that Hawkman had. Just a bunch of these. So I'm going to keep showing them, and then I'm going to kind of talk about the advantages to getting some comics from an antique store. One, you have to be careful that you do not get, if they're overpriced, leave them alone, right? It's simple as that. But one of the cool things that antique stores usually do, and the dealers inside antique stores will usually have where they give a discount if you buy so much. Now they don't just do it, you have to ask, but they've let the people know who are running the antique store what they're willing to do. So you go up with a stack and you ask if the dealer does discounts. Usually have your stack separated by dealer, where the booths you got them. And what's interesting is that some of them do it by how many pieces you buy. Say you're buying 50 pieces, they'll do 20% or whatever it may be, 10%, right? They give some form of discount. Not all of them, by any means, not all of the dealers do that, but a ton of them do that. Some of them do it by dollar amount. So if you're spending more than, I don't know, $100, they give a discount. You're spending more than whatever. So if you know that, then you get what you're willing to pay, and usually you walk out paying less, which is nice. For me, especially at Brass Armadillo, but there's a ton of them throughout the valley. If you're not from here, just look at your local comic shop, or not comic shop, antique store. Most of them will do some form of deal. I love this cover with the DC's floating heads, and it's all the All-Star Squadron members. It's just a beautiful floating head cover. Normally those are floating around the outside edge. DC was very fond of doing. Cool thing about the All-Star Squadron is that they had these issues that were origin stories. And basically they would include the images that were in the original where they first appeared, which was usually maybe a page at most, usually like 2 or 3 panels, if it was that. Some of them were just stuff written by the narrator, so it really wasn't a story. This one fleshes out Liberty Bell's origin, another All-Star, and then there was some for Johnny Quick. Johnny Quick had a 3-panel origin. That's it. In the Golden Age, they didn't waste time on the origins. They focused in on the story that was happening. So, like Superman, I think was a 3-panel. No, maybe it wasn't even a 3-panel. Maybe it was just the blurb that the narrator said. Like, genuinely, so many of them didn't really give a history. And here's a Tarantula history. And this is issue 66. So it's the issue before the last issue of All-Star Squadron. It ran for 67 with 3 annuals. So yeah, that's my find from Brass Armadillo, the one off I-17. Again, they're from different dealers, but I took the stacks up and said, do these dealers offer discounts? And they looked them up and said, yes, they do. Yes, this one does. And then they'd look up the other one. Yes, this one does. So you'd walk up with, $200 worth of comics, and then walk out with, paying a lot less. So that's wonderful. Anyway, this is from August, and the old comic guy will be coming at you with some more comic hauls coming up.